Welcome, yogis. My name is Caroline, and I'll take you through this 40-minute yoga flow centered around the moon cycle. Utilizing the cycle of the moon is a great way to set aside extra time for self-care once or twice a month. For these sessions, I encourage you to keep a journal close by to jot down any feelings, ideas, or thoughts that may come up for you. I do have one block close by for this class. It's not required, but if using a block is in your practice, I encourage you to keep one close by. With that said, we'll get started. I invite you to take any seated position on your mat. If you feel comfortable, allow your eyes to gently close. Begin to breathe in and out through the nose. Lift up and out of your lower back and reach the crown of your head toward the sky. Palms can rest gently on the tops of the knees. Beginning to tune inward, call to mind one thing or person you're grateful for. Allow that thought to bring a soft smile across your face. Embracing that gratitude, open your eyes, inhale, and reach your chest forward as you pull shoulders back for seated cow and cat pose. Exhale, round through the back, drop your chin down for cat pose. And we'll take one more round. Inhale, pulling the chest forward, gazing up. Exhale, round through the upper back, drop your chin down. Returning to a neutral spine, reach your arms up overhead, extend through the fingertips and side bend, reaching over toward your left. Option to drop your left hand to the mat to help with balance or bend a little deeper. Inhale, coming back through center. Lift up a little taller and exhale as you reach your fingertips over toward your right, lengthening out through your left side body. When the moon is at its fullest in the sky, it is said to represent completion and prosperity. It's a great time for us to intentionally bring gratitude into our practice and count all of our blessings. Inhale back up to center, and exhale, relax your hands, setting them down on your knees. We'll take a neck stretch together, so lift up tall through your spine, then drop your left ear toward your left shoulder. Take a moment to adjust here, finding the best angle for your chin. And once you find a tight area, relax and breathe deeply in and out through your nose. Slowly begin to drop your chin down toward your chest, rotating over to the other side. Hover your right ear over your right shoulder. The moon is said to symbolize feminine softness, opposite of the more masculine sun. So in this practice, you can expect a feminine flow with strong poses suitable for all genders. Slowly begin to lift your head through center, and then plant your hands behind you. Bend your knees and plant the soles of your feet onto the mat a few inches away from your glutes, about hip width apart. Allow your knees to shift left and right in a windshield wiper motion, dropping them down as far as is comfortable. You'll pivot on your heels while keeping your toes flexed here. Take a couple rounds back and forth. When you're ready, go ahead and stack your knees and ankles together to sweep them behind you. We'll meet in tabletop pose on hands and knees. Inhale, drop your belly toward the ground as you lift your gaze up and curl your tailbone up toward the sky. Cow pose. Exhale, press through your hands to round through your upper back and shoulders, dropping your chin down. Taking one more round of cat and cow on your own. And then returning to neutral, extend your left leg behind you with toes tucked. So left leg is long, You'll want to press out through your back left heel, getting a nice deep calf stretch through that left leg. On your next inhale, pick up the left foot, cross it behind you and over your right leg. Gaze over your right shoulder and back toward your toes. Bring your leg back through center and hover your left leg off the mat a few inches. Keep your left foot flexed and toes pointing straight down toward your mat. Firm up your belly. Exhale, set the left foot back down to the mat. Keep the toes tucked. Press through the hands, press through the left foot to lift your right knee off the mat a few inches. Feel your core activate. Set the right knee back down to your mat, and we'll meet in tabletop pose on hands and knees. Right leg extends back this time, pressing back and out through that heel to stretch out your calf. You may even feel this through the bottom of your right foot. Inhale, pick up your right foot and cross it over your left leg. Gaze over your left shoulder and maybe lean a little bit into your right hip to get a further side body stretch. Bring your right foot back through center and hover it off the mat a few inches. Engage your core and keep that right leg rotating such that your knee and your flexed toes are pointing straight down to the mat. Bring the right toes down, exhale. Press through your hands, press through those right toes and lift your left knee off the mat, activating through your core, remembering to breathe. Exhale, set your left knee down, coming back into tabletop. Walk your hands a few inches forward and tuck your toes under. We're coming into downward facing dog, so lift your hips and press your chest back toward your thighs. Keep a deep bend in your knees here. Let's take a cleansing breath. So inhale deeply, fill the belly, fill the lungs. Exhale out the mouth with a big sigh. Keeping a slight bend through your knees, look forward to the top of your mat and take several steps to walk your feet up to your hands. Stay in this forward fold with a deep bend through your knees. You can grab opposite elbows and let your head hang heavy here. Release your arms down to the mat, tuck your tailbone slightly, and press through your feet to roll your spine all the way up to standing. From Tadasana Mountain Pose, we'll take our first flow. Inhale, arms rise. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, bend the knees deeply and send your glutes back into a squat, thighs nearly parallel to the ground, or wherever is comfortable. Arms can extend straight out in front of you. Keep your pelvis slightly tucked and stay long through your spine. Exhale, fold forward to release. Plant your hands down and step your right leg back, setting your right knee down for Anjaneyasana low lunge. Keep your spine lengthening downward by pulling your belly in and tucking your tailbone slightly. Take a moment to adjust and find what feels good. From here, right arm rises and reaches up and over, stretching out through the right side body and right hip flexor. You can keep your left hand on your left hip or wherever is comfortable. Take a deep breath in and out the nose. Release your hands down to your mat. We're coming into half split, so you'll straighten through your left leg, rocking back onto your left heel. Rebend into your left knee. Tuck your back toes and press up into high lunge. Feet are about hip width apart and toes are pointing directly forward. Your back heel is slightly lifted off the mat and tailbone is lengthening down toward the ground. Shift your feet and open your arms out to Warrior Two. Option here to take Peaceful Warrior arms, reaching back with your left fingertips as your right hand scoops under and reaches in the opposite direction. We'll reverse engineer, so exhale, come back through Warrior Two, slowly shifting right away into high lunge, arms reach high. Right knee drops down to your mat for a low lunge. Leaving your arms up high, bring your left leg back to meet your right into a kneeling position. Untuck your toes so the tops of your feet touch the mat. Inhale, gently gaze up, and then exhale, bring your arms down into a cactus shape. Lift your chest toward the sky as you pull the arms down, keeping them at 90-degree angles. Inhale, reach the arms toward the sky once more, and set your hips back toward your heels for Child's Pose, Balasana. Choose how far apart you'd like your knees to be. It might feel nice to keep the knees together and reach arms alongside your legs, releasing your lower back. You can also bring a block under your forehead for extra space if this pose feels at all claustrophobic. When you're ready, arms reach out long. Press back into downward facing dog just as a transition. Bend your knees and look forward to the top of your mat, stepping or walking your feet to your hands, pausing in your version of forward fold for a breath. When you're ready, press through the feet, tuck the tailbone and roll slowly up into Tadasana Mountain Pose. Keeping even weight in the heel and ball of your foot. Inhale, arms will rise. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, taking that same squat. Extending arms forward. Weight is in the heels. Lift up through your chest and keep your chin parallel to the ground. Keep reaching long through the fingertips, and then exhale, let it go, fold forward. Plant the hands down to your mat, step your left foot back, and drop your left knee. Find your alignment on this side and breathe deeply. When you're ready, you can reach your left arm up and over toward the right. Notice if your right hip is rocking upwards. Try to keep your hips at an even level with each other. Straighten your right leg for Ardha Hanumanasana, half split on the right. Option to point or flex through your right toes. They both have a different sensation. Begin to bend your right knee once more, tuck your back toes, and lift up into your high lunge. You may want to keep a slight bend through your back knee, and think about knitting your ribs together instead of letting them flare open outward toward the front of your mat. Shifting into Virabhadrasana B, Warrior Two on the second side. We'll take that same arm variation with fingertips reaching long in opposite directions. We'll reverse engineer back through Warrior Two, then into your high lunge, and setting your back knee down into low lunge. Bring your right leg back into that kneeling posture. Arms are lifted high, and on your next exhale, you can bring the arms down into that cactus shape once again. Squeeze your glutes and shift your hips slightly forward in this pose. On your next exhale, send the hips back for Child's Pose as you set the arms down to your mat. Find your breath and anchor back into that sense of gratitude from the beginning of class. Taking stock of any accomplishments or blessings you've experienced since your last gratitude practice, and being grateful for our bodies, where they've carried us over the course of that time, and where we are with them today. If your arms were by your sides, reach them out forward. Begin to lift your head. Tuck your toes and press up into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Slightly bend your knees, look forward and walk or step your feet to the top of your mat, folding forward, then rolling up to Tadasana, mountain pose. Turn to face the long edge of your mat. For this next flow, we'll be moving laterally across the mat for a variation of moon salutations. Keeping your chin level with the floor, inhale, reach your arms up and side bend toward your left while sending your hips out toward your right. Then shift in the opposite way, sending your fingertips over toward the right while your hips move out toward the left. Inhale as you return to center, then step your left foot out nice and wide for goddess pose. Bend your knees deeply, keep your toes pointing out at a 45-degree angle. Moving into 5-pointed star, straighten your arms and legs. Toes will now be pointing directly forward. Reach your fingertips in opposite directions from one another. I'm going to grab my block for this next pose, Trikonasana, triangle pose. But if you don't have a block handy, you can always modify by placing your hand anywhere along your shin that's comfortable for you. Once you've hinged at the hip to fold, reach the right arm up high, chest is opening toward the right side of your mat. Take a nice big breath here. Exhale, look down for balance, coming into pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Feet are about hip width apart. All of your toes are now pointing forward toward the short edge of your mat. Gently hug your left hip back and try to keep a flat back here. If you need to keep your hands on your waist to help you maintain a flat back, that's perfectly fine. Start to bend deeply through your front knee and lift up tall, reaching the arms high for Warrior One. You may need to move your right foot back a few inches, and you can also heel-toe your left foot a little bit wider if you need more room for your hips to square to the front of the mat. Bring your hands into heart center. We're coming into Warrior Three, so if you had widened your stance, you may want to bring it in an inch or two. When you're ready, bring weight into your left foot and tilt your upper body forward until you can lift your right leg completely off the mat. Slowly and mindfully bend through your left knee. We're stepping out wide once again into goddess pose, using it as a transition to the second side of our flow. This time, reach your arms up overhead and intertwine them so that your left wrist crosses in front of your right. Press your palms together. You're welcome to try lifting onto the toes for a balance challenge as well. Exhale to set the heels down, pause, and release your arms. We'll transition into triangle pose on our right side. Find your triangle feet stance, then inhale, reach out long through the right fingertips, and exhale as you fold and set the right hand down. You want to keep that arm pulling back so that it allows your chest to remain open toward the side of your mat. Find your breath. Exhale, look down for balance, and set your feet for pyramid pose. Keep almost equal weight in the front and back feet. Both legs are straight, but if you need to keep a micro bend through your knees, that's totally fine to prevent them from locking out. Pull your low belly in and up. You'll notice that this time I'm keeping both hands on my hips, pulling my elbows back and shoulder blades together. Virabhadrasana A, Warrior One. Adjust your feet as needed, and then lift your torso up tall, reach through the crown of your head and lift your arms up high. Bending deeply through your right knee and pressing the outer edge of your back left foot into the mat. Once again, hands come through heart center. Bring some weight into your right foot. We're coming into our flying pose, Warrior Three. So lean your torso forward, and with control, allow your left leg to fly off the mat. If that doesn't work for you today, You can keep your toes down on the mat, or you can allow yourself to wobble, and if you fall out of it, no big deal. Exhale as you slowly bend through your right knee. We're stepping that left foot out wide, coming through goddess pose once again. This time taking our cactus shape with the arms, so elbows and knees are bent very deeply. Inhale, reach out for your 5-pointed star. Feeling strong while acknowledging and embracing the feminine softness present in this practice. Take a step over to the back side of your mat with feet together, bringing hands to heart center. We've completed half of the moon salutation cycle. To complete the other half, we'll take that same flow to return to the top of our mat where we started. I invite you to find your expression and your own personal style within your flow. Inhale, arms reach high. This time, taking a side bend to your right. Inhale to center, and then exhale, side bending over toward the left. Inhale back through center, stepping the right foot out nice and wide back into our goddess pose. Cactus shape with the arms. Notice your tailbone here. Is it popping back? Keep your tailbone slightly scooped under and your knees pressing back in space. 5-pointed star, Utthita Tadasana. Arms come into a T shape, broadened through the collarbones, palms are facing down and fingers are spreading wide apart. Trikonasana, triangle pose on the right side. Find your expression of the pose. Breathe deeply here. Keeping your core activated and belly pulled in can help you to stay light in the pose and avoid dumping weight into your wrist or shoulder. Exhale, look down. You know what's coming. Pyramid pose, Parsvottanasana. Hips shift square to the front of your mat. Gently hug your right hip back and pull your low belly in and up. Start to bend through the right knee, coming into Warrior One on your right side. With arms extended high, shoulders still remain down and pulling back, keeping the chest open. Bring your hands through heart center as you begin to adjust your feet and your weight distribution for Warrior Three. Press forward to fly with strength and grace. Be with your breath, and maybe find a single point to focus on, either on the floor or the wall, which can help with balance. Bend your right knee and step your left foot out nice and wide. We're coming into our goddess transition pose, and then we'll repeat our sequence on the left. Lift your arms up, and this time intertwine them the opposite way so your left wrist crosses behind your right. Maybe try lifting the heels or sinking a little bit deeper. Inhale, straighten your legs and move into triangle pose on the left. Taking slow, steady breaths. I grabbed my big toe here but felt like it was too far, so I readjusted and backed off. Know that you always have the power and the choice to back out of a pose if it feels like too much. We can always pivot to make our practice work for us, not against us. Exhale, look down. Shift your feet and hips to prepare for pyramid pose. Find your comfortable shape and pull your navel in toward your spine. Both legs are straight, but again, if you need a slight micro bend in the knees, that's perfectly fine. Ground down through all four corners of both feet. Take a breath here. Start to bend into your left knee as you adjust your back leg for Warrior One. Hone in on your focus and your breath as you prepare for your last Warrior Three. If you haven't yet let your back leg off the mat, maybe give yourself a chance to try it as we come into it this time. Bring your hands through heart center and pause for a moment to prepare. Move into your version of Warrior Three. Wherever you are, you got this, and I'm proud of you. If you're trying it and you tumble out, no worries. There is nothing to prove here. We're working with our bodies and accepting where they are today. With control, bend through your left knee and step out to goddess pose. Maybe sink a little deeper this time. Can you find gratitude in the midst of a challenge? What's coming to mind? Inhale to straighten your legs for 5-pointed star. Acknowledge the balance of softness and strength that carried you through your version of this flow. We'll take a step to the right, both feet landing together where we started. Hands can rest at heart center or place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly. Take a moment to embrace those soft and strong qualities within yourself, learning how they complement each other and work to your benefit both on and off the mat. We'll complete the cycle with an inhale, arms rise. Exhale, side bend to your left. Inhale, pass through center, and then exhale over to your right. Inhale, come back up, and we'll turn to find Tadasana at the top of our mat in the traditional stance. Take an inhale here. As you exhale, drop your chin to your chest and roll slowly down into a forward fold, releasing your lower back. Plant your palms down onto your mat and step back to downward facing dog just as a transition. Inhale, look forward, and step your left foot forward to meet your left thumb. Drop your right knee to the mat and come into your half split, Ardha Hanumanasana. For this version, you can stay where you are or set the glutes back onto the right heel. If you feel any pressure at all in your right knee, you may just want to stay up in the higher position. Breathing deeply here as we begin to slow down our practice. If you chose to sit back, go ahead and rock forward once again, and then we'll all bend into our left knee. Heel toe your left foot across your mat for pigeon pose. You can keep your left shin parallel to the front edge of your mat with a flexed foot, or relax your foot and bring it down toward your right hip to modify. I'm placing a block under my left glute for support to my knee and hips since I'm not super low to the ground. You're welcome to do the same with a pillow, a couch cushion, or maybe even a folded up blanket. Stay here lifted, or on an exhale, fold forward, placing your forearms down to the mat or to a couple of blocks. Try to keep your hips square in line with the front edge of your mat, so notice if they rock to an angle when you fold forward. Once you've found your version of the pose, breathe deeply into your belly and your back. Imagine filling your lungs with air from the front, sides, and back. Relax here and begin to release any tension that you're holding on to. If you had folded forward, inhale as you lift back up. Remove any props, and we'll set up for deer pose. Set your left hip down onto the mat, and feel free to look at this image I have overlaid on the screen. I accidentally faced away from the camera, so you may not be able to tell what I'm doing from the camera angle alone. So left leg is out in front, and right leg is sweeping beside you, both knees making 90-degree angles, and you want to keep both of your feet flexed. Plant your hands behind you and lean some weight into them. You want to have your tailbone slightly curled under here so you can lift your hips and tuck your pelvis under, then set your hips back down. You can stay here if you feel a sensation here, or slowly lean back onto your forearms to take it a little deeper. Whichever version feels best to you today, keep your chest lifted and shoulders pulling back together. This keeps the upper body engaged while we gently stretch our hips. If you were down on your elbows, go ahead and lift back up onto your palms. Sweep your knees and ankles together, and we'll meet in downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Right foot steps forward to meet your right thumb. Drop your left knee down, and we'll take half split on the right side. If you want to take that deeper stretch by sending your hips back, untuck your left toes and gently sit back on your left heel. We want to try to keep a flat back in this pose, so you may not fold super low, and that's okay. Find your breath once again, and if you feel a particularly tight area, imagine sending your breath directly to that spot to help the muscles relax. If you had leaned back, rock forward once again, bend into your right knee, and heel toe your right foot over toward your left hand. We'll come into pigeon pose on our right side, and again I'll be using a block under my right leg, so feel free to make use of a block or a blanket if that makes this pose more accessible to you. Square your hips to the front of the mat so both your hip bones are pointing directly forward. Once you've found your own personal adjustments, take an inhale, find some length through your spine, and either exhale, staying up tall, or breathe it out as you fold forward. I'll give you a few moments of silence and reflection here, so breathe slowly and deeply, and use these moments however you need to in our gratitude practice. If you had folded forward, inhale, rise. Gently lift your hips to remove any props, and then set your right hip back down to the mat for deer pose on the right side. Right leg can come into that 90-degree angle as your left leg sweeps up to your side and creates a second 90-degree angle. In this pose, we keep both feet flexed so that the muscles around the knees stay activated and knees remain stable. So keep your feet flexed with toes pulling back. Find your version of this pose, setting up your legs and hips, and then find stillness here. Breathe deeply, remembering to keep your chest lifted, almost like you're puffing it up with pride. And you should be proud. I know I'm proud of you. If you had lowered down, come back up to your palms, and we'll use our heels as a pivot point to slowly and mindfully move into a seated wide leg position. Legs can be as wide or as close together as you would like. The wider they are, the deeper stretch you will feel through the groin area. Right arm reaches up and over toward your left leg, bicep along your ear. If you would like to take the peaceful warrior arms, your left arm will scoop down underneath you, reaching in the opposite direction. Try not to collapse and face downward, but roll your right shoulder back to open your chest up toward the sky. Inhale, rise up through center, and we'll switch our arms. So exhale, reach your left arm up and over. Option to take those peaceful warrior arms here. Keep reaching long and extending out through your fingertips. If you would like to use your right forearm as a prop instead of peaceful warrior arms, feel free to bring it into the inner right thigh and press it into the mat. This gives you some extra support and integrity in the pose. Inhale, activate your core, and lift yourself all the way back up. Take a deep belly breath. You have the option of keeping your legs like this for a passive and relaxed forward fold. You can also adjust your legs into a butterfly position with knees bent and soles of your feet together if that feels better for you right now. Whichever option you decide on, inhale, find some length through your spine, and then exhale to fold forward with a flat back. Once you've hit your limit or your edge with folding forward with that flat back, you can relax and let the back round, allowing gravity to pull you deeper over time. So with that rounded back, we aren't pulling ourselves further, but we're rather letting the weight and relaxation of our own body carry us deeper into the pose. Let your belly relax as you take slow and deep breaths. Notice where your awareness is going and breathe into any tight spaces you feel. When you are ready, take a deep inhale and slowly roll up. Let your neck and head be the last to rise. You have the option to windshield wiper your legs, pivoting on your heels as you drop your knees slowly to the right and then the left, back and forth a few times. I'll meet you in a comfortable seat, and we'll take a brief moment of still awareness before reclining into Savasana. Allow your eyes to close. Find some length in your spine by lifting out of your low back and reaching the crown of your head high. You've given your body a gift through this movement practice. What is your body telling you right now? Maybe with the knots of the physical body loosened, your creative energy flows more freely. As you take a long, slow inhale, give yourself permission right now to be open to gratitude and to invite in creativity and inspiration. With a cleansing, audible sigh out the mouth, exhale deeply and take your time to recline down onto your back, stretching out long for Shavasana, our final resting pose. Legs and arms can spread wide apart, with feet falling out toward the sides. Another option is to keep a bend in your knees and plant the soles of your feet down along the edges of your mat, allowing the knees to fall in toward one another. This can be supportive to your lower back. Palms may face up, and you may want to shrug your shoulder blades down your back. Find what feels good and settle in. I encourage you to commit to absolute stillness in this pose. Taking rest outside of regular sleep is so beneficial for our physical bodies, our subconscious stream of thought and emotions. Let your breath return to a normal pattern, almost becoming imperceptible. Relax the tongue off the roof of your mouth and let your forehead and eye muscles feel at ease. If you need an anchor for your thoughts, you may try focusing on an internal image, maybe the cleansing bright light of the full moon. Be at rest, friend. I will let you know when it is time to reawaken. Begin to bring awareness to your breath, my friend. Take a big inhale in and a cleansing breath out your mouth. Awaken your body by wiggling fingers, maybe point and flex through your toes. You can move your head gently side to side. Inhale and reach your arms up long overhead. Stretch through the fingers and toes, reaching them in opposite directions. Exhale, relax, and sigh it out. Take your time to roll onto your left side, using your left arm as a pillow. Press yourself up with your right hand, keeping your eyes closed if you can, and I'll meet you in your version of a comfortable seat. If you had opened your eyes, close them for a moment. Roll your shoulders back and down, sit up tall. I invite you to bring your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra, acknowledging the divinity within you and all around you. Thank you so very much for joining me in this full moon flow. Let me know in the comments how you feel now that practice is finished. I hope to practice with you again soon.